Good evening and welcome to the Star Chamber Show live podcast. It is a great Wednesday evening here in Lexington, Kentucky, where I am broadcasting from. Stephen Zimmer joining you tonight, and joining me in just a couple of minutes is the vivacious, the loquacious, the audacious Holly Phillippe. So hope all of you are having a great night as we get ready for another great episode tonight with a fantastic guest just shortly. So want to definitely go over some of the updates with you from the Imaginarium convention, of course, because that is what we are affiliated with at the Star Chamber Show. And but I do want to give a shout out to Vamp Chat with Dan and Eva. They had a great episode yesterday with V. Neal, who's a legendary makeup artist in the Hollywood effects industry, special effects, and just did so many movies, worked on things ranging from the Lost Boys all the way up to Priest, to all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was a great interview, and you even got to hear Eva sing. That was fantastic. So check that out. It's another show here on the Podbean platform, and it's a great one, especially if you are into vampires. And we love it. We love it. We definitely endorse it, and check it out. And of course, they also, like us, also distribute to all the platforms such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, all those good channels after they do their live shows as well. So you can catch those every week. And so, yes, definitely want to say hi to everybody in the chat room. Hope everybody is doing well. Chat room is open. It is working. So come on in. Come on in. And we always do take comments and questions and things like that from the chat. We love to interact with our audience. And thank you very much for listening. We've had a lot of new listeners lately. Welcome. Very big welcome to all of you. Thank you for on the show. Yes, we focus on the creative world. Sometimes we focus on a theme, but most often we do feature creative guests from the likes of filmmakers and authors and writers of all kinds, and musicians and game designers, and we've had YouTubers, all kinds of folks. So definitely look to bring a good variety of a lot of things. And I think Holly should be coming in here in just a minute. I think that is Holly, as a matter of fact, live. Hi, Holly. There you are.
I am here.
There you are. I was welcoming everybody.
Doing? It's
Pardon?
been a treat, guys. I have been. We have a clog, and it's
not all the details.
Not
yeah, that we do not want to give all the details. Yes, we've had pipe issues. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah,
and
plumbing for the past 2 days.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Yeah,
it's
the
guys,
indie artist.
Work at home and you do all these things. Life happens too, and some things come to, and you have to take care of.
Hey, you might have to refresh, Holly. You were going in and out.
Can you hear
your connections? Yeah, I can hear you, but it's kind of cutting out just a little bit. So make sure you.
Oh, well, I'll close and come back.
Yeah, give that a shot. I'll start on the updates for sure, because we got quite a few to give you as well. And in the last week, of course, we've had some great new guest announcements, a new workshop announcement, and then we're going to give you a little preview about some things we're going to announce tomorrow. But so far, we did announce award-winning USA Today best-selling author Lydia Shearer is joining us as a spotlighted guest. And she's amazing. Her Love, Lies, and Hocus Pocus universe of books has sold close to 1 million copies worldwide. Yes, that is 1 million, folks. And she also has published a Gamelit series with New York Times bestselling author John Ringo, and also has written stories for several Black Tide Rising anthologies. Yeah, definitely. She gives great workshops, and she will be giving one for us, working it out with Holly as we speak, and we'll be posting that very shortly. Today we got to announce that Sharon LaCour, yes, remember Sharon was on the show not too long ago. Catch that episode in our archive if you haven't. great guest, and we are really looking forward to her having her first visit to Imaginarium as a panelist. Wonderful author, and then also returning as a panelist that we definitely love to see each year, and that is Lorena Peter. She is an author, screenwriter, and artist. And then yesterday, we got to make one big programming announcement. And this one, like I tell people, some of these workshops are worth alone are worth the event ticket to Imaginarium. I mean, they're just some amazing stuff. And yes, we have weaving multiple narratives into one great story from Bram Stoker award winner Michael Nost, and um, it's how to focus on the intricacies of crafting multiple seemingly standalone story threads into one novel. And so it focuses on the subtype of parallel narrative called fractured tandem, and step by step, the connections of outwardly independent stories are revealed in your novel. So this is going to be a really great, very detailed 2-hour workshop, and it's one you don't want to miss. I mean, this is just top tier stuff, folks. And tomorrow should be tomorrow that we're going to go public with it, but we're giving you the scoop. So yeah, we are going public right now, as a matter of fact. But we have a new workshop coming from Elliot Parker: Structure and Narrative Tension, how to hold a story together. And that is exactly what it says. And that's going to be a great workshop we've got coming. We also have two from Lynn Tencher. Yes, we just had Lynn on last week talking about the Pen Crafters Mentorship Program. Hope you all have checked that out. But the workshop title is Interviewing Your Characters and Unlock Their Deepest Secrets. And so it's all about interviewing characters and developing your characters, and real good focus on that. And then the other one that she is doing is interviewing your location, bringing your setting to life. So she's
Yeah,
doing
that's
one
pretty cool.
workshop on characters, one workshop on setting. So yes, as you see, we have great workshops that range from all kinds of things on the craft of writing, on the industry, on marketing and publicity. Lots of great stuff. I mean, there's already tons of great stuff posted on the site, more coming every week. So you definitely want to get on and check that out. If you down to very few expo spaces remaining, so if you want one, you better snag it now, because yeah, those are almost gone. And then we also I also want to say, yeah, definitely, if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, we definitely welcome that, because we always could bring more into the event when we do get extra sponsorship. So
Yep.
as individual patrons or on any of the sponsorship levels. So please do check that out, folks. And
Or
so,
share it with everyone, because if you're thinking about getting a
yeah,
table, or you want extra passes, then that's the most economical way, is to become a sponsor. Look at those levels, because there's perks for banquet tickets, extra passes, vendor
mhm.
tables, just all kinds of things that you can get with that. And actually, you also get a year's worth of advertising, through our promotional material and on the websites and all that. So it's very, economical to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but very economical when you actually do sit and break it down as to what's in the packages. But yes, we're going to go ahead and Holly, did you have anything to update on as far as things go?
No, I just wanted to give a shout out and thank 86 Bad Love that's in the chat,
Hmm.
because she gave me advice and it solved my problem. I've never heard the cutting out before. You were cutting out, and so I was like, "That's so odd," because Carol Preflash was like, "No, I hear Stephen 5." So she suggested that I turn off the Wi-Fi and just go from my mobile, and that's what I'm doing. And now I'm having no issues.
Wait, just wild. There's always
Yeah,
an adventure with
I've
live.
never had that
Live.
problem before, but now I
Yeah,
know what to do. Right.
well, it's good to learn a quick
So
troubleshoot
thank
when that
you.
happens. Not sure why that happened. Yeah, they just did some maintenance on the fiber optic lines where we live, and completed it and
Yeah,
said everything
yeah,
was great.
so odd.
And I haven't noticed a problem, but yes, I
Well,
mean,
thank
yeah,
you,
I'm actually
86 Bad Love.
yes, yeah, I'm actually listening to some sound monitoring on my end, so I could hear that I wasn't cutting out. So,
Yeah,
but
that's what I was hearing, but now it's perfectly clear, and you can hear me fine, right?
yes, absolutely,
All right. Well,
absolutely.
then we're good to go.
Yeah, it looks like the man himself, Dan Clefstad, has just entered
Dan
the
Clevstead.
building. I talked about the show yesterday in the opening segment right before I think you got on about the great show they did with V Neil yesterday
Oh God,
on
it was so good.
Vamp Chat with Dan and Eva on Podbean. Yeah, just a great show. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and hearing her sing was just great. Hearing Eva sing was just so much fun. I told Dan earlier today. I said that was just the bonus for the night.
The
Getting to hear
icing on the cake, right?
singing a song from the Lost Boys soundtrack too. That was
Oh, I know. I said
perfection.
that. That's like the Gen X call, right? We
Yeah,
hear that. We know exactly what that's from.
yep. That's the Gen X call.
Yeah.
You just a great show though, folks.
And
Again,
we all had our favorite Lost Boy. We all had our favorite character from the show. So yeah,
oh yes,
very
and who
80s thing.
and of course who could forget the Frog Brothers? They're so fun. They are great. Oh man, good show, good show. Brought back a lot of great memories, and hearing about V Neil is just fantastic. I mean, she is
She's
just
phenomenal. I love her.
phenomenal, phenomenal. So anyway, we're going to get to recognizing the folks that brought you tonight's show, and then we're going to get over to our guest of the evening, who I'm really looking forward to speaking with tonight. But first, we are going to go over to Ren Garcia and Sandy Lender and give you a little bit about each of them. Thank you very much to both for steadfast support of the show, because yes, the show does have costs involved, and yeah, I can't do it without support like theirs. So thank
Nope.
you, Ren and Sandy, and we'll go with Ren first. Here we go, Ren.
The League of Elder dares to be unusual. It's easy to be swept away in this bold and uninhibited landscape where fantastic heroes become old friends and sinister villains inhabit every dark corner. Dare to explore things best left alone. Each book is your lantern, lighting the path to a world never before seen. So what do you say? Are you weird enough for us?
Most
Ren,
certainly.
are you weird enough for us? You need to
Yeah.
come see us in July. That's the question.
And folks, Holly is personally. I've talked to Ren personally, and I think
I'm
he's
even
leaning
trying to
toward coming.
bribe him with a free beverage.
Yeah, Holly is reaching out to Ren. She's going to get him aboard. Don't worry, folks.
I'm working on it.
And here is a bit from Sandy. Sandy Lender, this genre blender.
Are you a creative person working a 9 to 5 job to survive? Let's look at how to keep your energy and joy alive with the new motivational business book, Capture Your Dream, from author Sandy Lender. In Capture Your Dream, Sandy offers stories, lessons, inspiration, SWOT analysis, goal stacking strategies, and more to help you map your plan to achieve a dream job or side hustle. As a creative herself, Sandy knows it takes compromise and commitment to keep the day job to survive while chasing the dream to thrive. Assess your dragon score. Learn more about Capture Your Dream at AuthorSandyLender.com.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you very much for everything. And yes, we are going to go ahead and give you another spot here. And this, of course, we want to support the
Yes.
great project from James Sabata, Spirited Giving, which is part of Scares That Care, which is that charity is taking place alongside AuthorCon 5, which is taking place in Williamsburg, Virginia next month. So a great charity, and here's a bit about it from the man himself, James Sabata.
The Spirited Giving fundraiser returns on Thursday, March 27th, as part of AuthorCon 5 in Williamsburg, Virginia, featuring author readings from Jamie Flanagan, Brian Keene, D.M. Gay, and Rebecca Cuthbert, as well as a live performance of the epic podcast series, The Midnight Pals. All proceeds go directly to Scares That Care, a 501c3 nonprofit that has raised and donated over $300,000 to burn victims, women fighting breast cancer, and families with a child affected by illness. Check out spirited-giving.com for more information. Spirited Giving. It's gonna be one hell of a night.
Thank you, James. And we're definitely hoping that event goes wonderfully. Great cause, great people, and yeah, well worth your support and attending. So, yes, now it is time to bring on our guest of the show. And I'm really looking forward to this. So, give you a little bit of an intro. And yes, tonight's guest is an author, a podcaster, a playwright, and a radio host. He is also the host of Chicago Writes, the podcast of the Chicago Writers Association, and a critically acclaimed playwright with several books published. And so, welcoming is my honor to welcome onto the show for the very first time, and hopefully, first of many visits to come, WC Turck. And so, yes, your microphone is on, and welcome to the show tonight.
I can be here every week if that's what it takes, brother.
Absolutely.
It's such a pleasure to
Good
be
to
here.
hear you. And a thank you. I want to give a quick thank you to Dan Klefstad for getting us connected, because I have been looking into all your work and just fantastic stuff. And yeah, it's hard to almost pick where to begin, because we share a love of rock and roll, and you interview rock personalities. You have a podcast, with the Chicago Writers Association. You have great novels. You have a great novel that's new, one that's in progress that sounds fascinating. So just tell us a little bit. This is your first time on the show, so tell us a little bit about yourself in your words, and we'll get the conversation rolling from there.
I sort of came to being an author a bit reluctantly. I went to war as a visual artist in Sarajevo to sort of
Wow.
understand the how artists were surviving when I thought their primary mission or their primary goal or effort in life should have been just mere physical survival. This is during the siege of Sarajevo back in 1993 and 1994, and I found a really vibrant, stalwart, defiant community, and then I met my wife there, who was a ballroom
Nice.
dancer, and and she was also a visual artist. We actually met through one of her former art teachers, serendipitously on the street there in Sarajevo, and
Wow.
we got married within 10 days, and
Wow.
then I had to escape the city. Yeah, and leave her behind before we could get her safely out, almost 9 months later. So,
Oh,
Oh,
but
but
she is with you now.
that
Then
compelled me
she is
to.
live and well, and
she's with.
She is, yeah, she's hunkered down in the bedroom here with the dog,
good.
listening carefully to everything I say. And if I get anything wrong, I'll be sure to hear about it. But no, we've been married now for 30 years after knowing each other for 10 days.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
That is
But
amazing, and that takes commitment and work, because no marriage is, people say marriage is easy. Obviously, aren't doing it right, because it yeah, it is work,
it's easy for
and you
me.
have
She
to
does
give
all
and
the
take.
work.
Yes.
It's easy for
Yeah,
me. She does all the work.
It's
But
well,
having gone through that and seeing things um,
amazing.
like that no other journalist had witnessed, compelled me to sit down and write a memoir about meeting my wife, but also going through the war as I did as an artist.
Wow.
yeah,
Was you a
yeah.
soldier then, or was you?
No,
No.
no, I was not.
Okay.
I was getting ready to study painting and art. I was studying under a master sculptor here in Chicago, a
Mm.
gentleman by the name of Milton Horn, and he wanted me to go to Paris or Florence and study, and I wanted so badly, because I'm he was very much of the classical. I'm very much of the
Yes.
modern. I wanted to go to Spain and Barcelona and study Dali and Miro and
Yes.
Picasso, um,
Yes.
and then the war happened, and I heard about artists in Sarajevo, and I thought, man, that's what where I needed to be, what I needed to see, and to be a good witness about it.
That's amazing. That is an amazing story. Have you wrote a memoir then? Have you
Yeah.
wrote a memoir about meeting your wife and how that all played out?
I do. It's called
Cool.
Everything to Love: A Memoir of Love and War, and I believe it's the best. It's the best telling of the siege, because
Yeah.
I went through the front lines like a Sarajevan, not like a journalist or a soldier, and I saw things like the tunnel um, under the airport, half-mile long tunnel under the airport, that no journalist and no outside soldiers saw.
But you did find, and it's interesting because you of all people can really speak on this, is the importance of the arts for humanity.
Absolutely,
For humanity.
absolutely.
You know, even in the depths of despair and horrible things going on around you, we still need that outlet. We have to have it as humans.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's it's an eternal aspect of our
Hmm.
storytelling heritage. That was how we began, and it informed visual art and then
Yep.
literature. But we began as this storytelling
Cave
species
drawings, right? Yeah.
about community. It was all about community and
Yep.
affirming community, and that was what I strove for in the memoir. That's what I strive for in all my writing, actually.
Yeah, that's going to be one I definitely have to put on my TBR list for sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know you had a memoir of that. That
That's what
is
I was
I will get
curious
you guys
because
a
I
copy.
definitely want to check it out.
yeah, definitely
Yeah, I
because
will. I will get you guys a copy. Absolutely.
yeah, because I followed a lot of stories of that time and period, and took definitely have read a lot of accounts of it. But yours sounds
Yeah.
very unique. Because I had a friend, that was a good friend of ours, is in a peacekeeping mission there, just toward the end. But I mean,
Right.
some of the
Right.
stories that he brought back were just horrific. I mean, just to use a word. I mean, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
his thing that he witnessed, the things that he saw, and just to think that you were doing that as a civilian and not with any
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
surrounded by comrades heavily armed. I mean, that is wow.
Yep.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah. No,
that's
I
good to
and
know.
and
Yeah.
I ended up getting stuck there, which is kind of the point, uh,
Mhm.
or the climax behind Everything for Love. I got stuck there. The U.S. Embassy wouldn't help me. The United Nations Protection Force wouldn't help me. I risked being arrested. I actually was arrested and held overnight on the front line by different armies.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
God.
and eventually a friend who was also a dancer, but he was also a soldier who worked at the tunnel, smuggled me through, and that was a really harrowing
Wow.
experience that's in the book.
Wow. Well, I look forward to
Yeah,
reading
I've
that for
definitely
sure.
got to read this. Yeah, and sculpting. I loved sculpture. I love what Stephen knows. I love the arts so much.
Oh
I'm a
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm a huge fan of Van Gogh, but I love Picasso. He's right up there with Rembrandt. You know, those are like
yeah,
my top tiers. But yeah, I love sculpting. It,
Mhm.
it's it's beautiful, but I'm more of the classical. You know, I like the old. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's
yeah. Go ahead.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, in my
So
opinion,
did
yeah,
go ahead.
you can't beat the OG stuff. Some of the
No,
OG
no, you can't.
styles,
We
yeah,
wouldn't be
they
where
are
we're at
wonderful.
today, right? You know,
No,
and so,
no,
but did you
yeah,
get
yeah.
to study? I mean, did you get to study what you wanted to over, there, what you actually were intending to do?
No, not so much. Well, I mean, in Sarajevo, yeah, I
Yeah.
met with a number of artists, visual artists, poets, writers, musicians, and really, I spent 20 years going in and out of the Balkans, for family and for historical study, and even some archaeological studies. And so, I got to know the culture very, very well. But I'll tell you this: it was my knowledge of Yugoslav literature and music, Yugoslav rock and roll, learning
Nice.
that before I went, that made the difference between, and allowed me to travel across those front lines, with the modicum of safety that I did. Um, that knowing the culture really set me apart from journalists.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But that was actually the second book that I published. The first book that I published, which was um, recommended by the National Association of Mental Health Institutes, was Broken: One Soldier's Unexpected Journey Home, which dealt with my my issues with PTSD from the war, and my wife's
Right.
issues with PTSD from the war. And it tells the story about a young man in the UP of Michigan, who comes across this gentleman who lives on an island in Lake Superior, uh, who and lives in the old Ojibwe, Native American ways,
Hmm.
and claims to be a survivor of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And so he
Wow.
sets out to solve this old man's mystery, as it were, and ends up helping himself along the way.
So
Oh, wow.
you'd already written a book before you even sit down to do the memoir.
Uh, I I wrote almost 700 pages of the memoir, so it took some time to edit that down, to
Yes,
the
yes, it does.
to the 250 some odd pages of the memoir. But yeah, so I started the novel first. We were going up to the UP, and just
Nice.
fell in love with the wilderness, and the primitive nature of everything that we saw there, and in the just the sheer beauty of this country, and
Right.
I was compelled to write that story.
Oh, that's
Hi.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, Holly and I have discussed, yeah, because we, being an indie artist, authors and everything, it's yeah,
yeah,
you don't have a wealth of it's not luxurious, but so you have to pick your spots where you vacation. But we did find that, yeah, going to that area like Croatia and areas like that, very very reasonable, and just be able to actually
Yeah.
visit and tour there
Be
is
immersed in the culture because
it's, it's affordable.
you
Yeah,
guys,
I was like,
you guys have
I
been
love.
you guys
Go
have
we
ahead.
been
want
to
to go.
Croatia.
We want no.
No, we want to
Top
go.
of our
We
list.
want
Oh,
to.
We
well,
want to go there really badly.
you
And
Yes.
my favorite
you let
hard
me
rock
know.
metal band, of course, is
My
from
wife's cousin has a beautiful hotel on the coast.
Oh,
We'll set you up.
Thank you.
oh my
Yeah, what?
God. Well, that would be amazing because I tell you, I am a stickler. I love to cook. I'm a retired
Oh,
nurse, and now I
A
do,
foodie.
all
He's a
the
foodie.
creative. But I'm a foodie and I love to cook. I mean, I am a home chef. I can cook with the best of them, and I am all about authentic cooking. So if I make anything ethnic, I do it. I do my research. I do it correctly, and I enjoy it. And that's why I would love to go there and eat not from the tourist traps. I want to
yeah,
eat from the family restaurants that
yeah,
and
yeah.
immerse in the culture. And me and Steven love to learn that, and see
Oh,
the
yeah,
different culture. Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
we would love it very
yeah.
much
absolutely.
so.
Where you get to when you meet the locals, when you know
Hmm.
somebody who's local, they take you
That's
to the
it.
local spots. But I'll
Yes.
tell you, I'll tell you, we spent right after the war, and my wife got out of Sarajevo. We ended up in this town called Solin, above in the hills above Split. This old, ancient Roman town, but
Nice.
so going
Yeah.
down into Split, yeah, there was a 500-year-old fish market, with
Oh my
these
gosh.
great big marble stone tables and marble walls, and
God.
it's
Oh
quiet
my
and
God.
empty
Yeah.
and peaceful, and then the boats come in, and it's a frantic insanity as their dogs are running through, and cats getting shoved out of the way, but there's every kind of fish you can imagine,
We love the
and
kitties. We love
yeah,
kitties.
it lasts for an hour and a half. Boom, everything is off the table. They clean it up, and then
Wow.
they wait for the PM shipment to come in. It's absolutely,
Holy.
and they've been doing that in that same spot for 500 years.
Isn't that
Oh yeah.
insane? I mean, to
And
us, it's something that's 50 to 100 years old here is old, but yeah, it's just amazing.
yeah,
500 years. And me and Steve would love that. We love the fish market, and the fresh fish. And yeah, oh, that'd be
Oh yeah.
amazing. I just can't imagine.
and Croatia's sort of unique in that it's spot along the Adriatic, so you get
Hmm.
those you get those Italian influences and Venetian
Hmm.
influences. You get Turkish and Greek influences. You get the
Oh, the
Balkan
spices.
influences. You even get some Austrian influences from the north. So
Oh,
that dynamic mix comes together in that one crescent shaped country. It's
oh,
absolutely astounding. We're headed back there probably later on this year to see
oh,
family.
wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I can
amazing.
imagine the wine. I'm sitting here having a glass of red now, and I'm sitting here thinking, "Oh, the wine! That would
Yeah.
be amazing."
They've
Yeah.
got
So yeah.
they've got some good reds there. You have to search a little
Oh.
bit, but they've got some good reds there.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh.
definitely.
Talking my
Definitely.
language.
Yeah, I know you like rock and roll, and yeah, one of my absolute
Yeah.
favorite young up and coming vocalists is Dino Jelusic, and he's from Croatia. Just love
Oh,
him.
no kidding.
He's been in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He played with he was helping out with Whitesnake for a while, but he's got his own
Yeah.
solo group and then also a progressive metal band called For Whom Gods Destroy. And it just amazing vocalist. I mean, just
Yeah.
power. I mean, his vocal style is like a combination of Ronnie James Dio meets David Coverdale, if you can
Oh my
imagine
gosh.
fusing those two styles. But
Uh-huh.
he's from Croatia. And
Well.
so yeah, that would be fun to even run
There's
into
some
him
I
there.
gotta tell you, there's some great music out
Mhm,
of Bosnia and some out of
mhm,
Serbia,
mhm.
which I know a little bit, but I know Bosnia and Croatian bands much better, and there's some amazing talent. There's always been some amazing talent out of there.
Yeah,
Do you
absolutely.
write? I've got to ask about your writing because Stephen, when he writes, he has his routine. He
Uh-huh.
writes on a computer that has no internet, and he
No
blares
internet.
heavy metal music most days.
Well,
And so,
not
what
so
is your routine? I mean, do you blare music, or
I
what is your
always
routine?
Yeah, it kind of drives my wife nuts because when she writes, she has to have complete silence. Uh,
Hmm.
when I
many
write,
do.
Yeah.
and I do a lot of historical musical research. Um, I'm talking with later on this week. I'm talking with a Johnny Cash impersonator, a performer,
Nice.
who's going to be at a theater up here. I just had a really good conversation with Kofi Baker, the son of Ginger Baker,
Yes.
and
Yeah, you
we got
mentioned that.
deep.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got deep into the weeds about Ginger Baker's Air Force, and I had a conversation with Denny Lane uh, from Paul McCartney and Wings
Oh,
a number of years ago before he
nice.
passed, and so he was telling us stories on the air about the recording of Band on the Run and all that. So I filled in the gaps on that with Kofi a bit, and it was so I'm always listening to. I was just listening to Hank Williams and trying to bridge that with Johnny Cash, and so yeah, that's
Nice.
Nice.
that's
Old
what I
Hank,
do. Heavy
Hank
metal.
Senior,
I'm sorry,
Hank Senior, or Hank Junior.
Hank Senior. Of course.
Yeah,
Nice.
there you go. There you go. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Ginger Baker, I mean, just truly one of the greatest drummers of all time, bar
Yeah, he
none.
was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I'm a hugely respect Ginger Baker. That and that
Who
must
built
yeah. That,
his own drum kit after
mhm,
getting out of gangs as a kid. He grew up. His dad was killed during the Second World War. But the conversation that I had with Kofi about his dad was trying to reconcile a few details about Ginger, and I came upon this during uh, for a documentary about Ginger Baker. I'm sorry, the title's escaping me, but Ginger gave this really vibrant, detailed, clear description of the Blitz of London, but he was only 2 years old at the time.
mhm,
And so
Wow.
I thought forward to our neighborhood came under shelling, and my wife's little baby brother was just a year old at the time, and I remembered every time a shell went off on the street, he would just shake and tremble really hard, and I couldn't help but think about how
mhm,
how he would think about that, or if he would have a memory of that later in life.
mhm.
So when I heard Ginger Baker talking about that at such a young age, the the dominoes just sort of clicked into place.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
I can see. I can definitely see that. Yeah, for sure. And yeah. And
And
who are some of the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, segue this into writing, the assassination of Baby Hitler,
Yeah.
a love story, is book one of the Accidental Time Travel trilogy. And I
Mhm.
Nice.
spoke with Roger Earl from Foghat, who told
Oh,
me,
Oh,
wow.
nice,
uh,
nice.
who
Love
told me
Foghat.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was brilliant, and so he gave me all of this inside information about Lonesome Dave and his love for his first of all his love for the blues, which is unquestioned and well known, but he was deep into comic books,
Hmm.
and there's a concept in comic book called where they use foreshortening. That's where a superhero seems to be flying towards you, or so his head is larger and his feet are farther away, so they're smaller, right?
Right.
That was something um, that was discovered back in Carlo Uccello, I believe it was the artist's name, back in Renaissance Italy, Renaissance Florence, and so I just had a friend pass away, a 97-year-old artist, Leo Segadin, who was a huge fan of comics because of that very thing, that foreshortening, and he just loved that. So Dave or Roger rather, is going to be. I'm dedicating the second novel to Lonesome Dave, and,
Aw,
we'll get a blurb or two from Roger Earl.
that's
Nice.
amazing. That
Yeah,
is amazing.
Yeah, because I
Very
wanted to
cool.
get into this because it looks like it's just a great genre blender. It really looks like it mixes a lot of different elements with time travel, with science, science elements. It's got romance. It's got, I mean, it looks like you've got a lot of things going on. And then you even
Yeah.
mentioned that you have a rock and roll angle, which ties into what you just were talking about. So
Uh-huh.
this this sounds great. But yeah, and the title, it's so provocative to begin with. So I mean,
Well,
you got everything going on here.
it's such a philosophical concept, time travel. More
Hmm.
philosophical than science, even though science seems to be, the math seems to be encroaching ever so slightly on ideas or not ideas of time travel. But there's a great philosophical concept about do overs and regret and guilt and all those things that that I needed to explore. And because of the theoretical nature of the math and some of the concepts like negative energy and wormholes, which by the way they're very very close
Yep.
to discovering.
Yep.
Um, but I needed a bridge. I also needed a way to talk about that philosophical aspect, and I couldn't think of any better vehicle than rock and roll stars: Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Michael Schenker.
Yeah.
All of these great guitarists who wield their guitars to to harness negative energy to hold open these wormholes, right?
Hmm.
But even more than that, they are living assertions of free will against strict order. You know the,
Hmm.
this this idea that everything is preordained and we don't have free will. Well, we do have free will, and I argue that, and I think I prove it in the book. But they're also there to talk about that free will aspect as really agents of free will themselves. So that's rock and roll.
Hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, you just
That sounds fun.
immediately comes to mind Michael Schenker holding that flying V.
Yep.
Absolutely. But
Uh-huh.
but I love, yeah, you have a protagonist that is a physics professor, which I think is great, and then actually with the romance quest of sorts to go back to meet a woman of his dreams that's well over a century older,
He
and
likes older women,
yeah,
130 years older.
Just a little bit older. Yeah.
well, that's a great great little nugget right there in the description of your book. And so how does it
Well,
play? Yeah.
I started out as a physics and astronomy major for 1 year before
Wow.
before my mind blew, and I went into the counselor with all art classes. Um, but so Darby has to use deductive reasoning when he ends up in this portal and wakes up in 19th century Bavaria in Munich. And
Mm.
so he's got to use deductive reasoning first to understand if it's real or if he's dying, right? If these are the flashes of a dying mind. And when he comes to realize that it's real, now he really needs to kick in that deductive reasoning through physics and science to try to make sense of what's happening to him and
Mhm.
try to figure out how to get back home.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
hopefully with Greta, the that older woman.
Yes, yes, and you put it right in Holly's favorite time period. Anything 19th century. That is Holly's zone for sure.
What
Yes.
a
Yes, it
romantic
is.
period. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
such a romantic Victorian
yeah.
Victorian
Yes.
Europe or Victorian America,
Yes.
Victorian anywhere is just a sublimely romantic time.
My queen is Victoria and will always be Victoria. And I will stand. I said I would have definitely been a red coat back then. Even if I was stuck here, I would have stayed faithful to the monarchy because I love Victoria and anything Victorian. And yeah, it's just that's what touches my heart. So yeah,
And
anything,
I
1900 or below, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to so I've spent I used to work in Germany, so I spent a lot of time in Munich. Uh, I and Bavaria. I got to recreate 19th century Munich and Bavaria before the
Nice.
wars and everything else and
Hmm.
depression and look at it um, through these before eyes. Even the Holocaust. They meet and on the cover of the book
Hmm.
is it's an amalgamation, but uh, predominant is a woman holding a parasol. A painting by a Munich artist, a Jewish artist named Josef Block, who died during the Holocaust. And so that's another conundrum that Darby faces is he sits down with this Heinrich Hoffmann, who was a mannerist playwright, and Josef Block, who was also a mannerist, but in the visual arts, and they were very very close friends. And Greta, and he wants to tell everything that he knows about what's coming up, but how do you tell people of of a train coming at him down the tracks that's not going to be there for another 50 years. And
Hmm.
Right.
so he's struggling to give that message or give that warning without sounding absurd, and it sets up a really interesting um, dilemma for Darby.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And yeah, your cover. I was going to say your cover really conveys the mix of elements so well because I mean you've got the math equations worked in with the clearly the Victorian attire,
Yeah.
and then all these figures on the cover, and then the intriguing title. I mean, it's the assassination of baby Hitler, a love story, and so I mean it is really intriguing. And how much can I know you don't want to give away too many spoilers, but
Yeah.
please do talk about the title and what's behind that title because that's really
So
intriguing.
if you may recall back in 2016, way back in that, which is a million years now, but back in 2016, Jeb Bush, as a presidential candidate, made what I thought was an astoundingly stupid comment about if he could go back in time, he'd kill baby Hitler, and that sort of flippant remark pops up all the time.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think we just heard it in this last campaign, and so I I decided to explore that and explore the morality and ethics behind that. So, are we saying that a baby is born evil, um, and and if not, does evil capture that child? Does a Satan take over a child, and then if so, but is it nature nurture, or is it both?
Hmm.
And
Ah,
that leads to I always say this doesn't give away the ending of the book, because I believe that the ending of the book is really powerful and very exciting. But I say this all the time: at no time in the writing of this book were any babies, Nazi or otherwise, harmed.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't give away a really powerful, strong ending that
Mhm.
is consistent with my my thought processes, or my my characters' thought processes throughout the book.
Mm-hmm. And this is planned as a trilogy, or you've got this mapped as a trilogy.
It is,
and,
yeah.
So it's a
So I even give a little bit away at the end of the book. There's a chapter from the second book that's right now titled Greta, or Greta's Story, in which she doesn't quite make it back to the future with Darby, but ends up in 1969 East Germany, and has to figure out some way to get to Darby without aging out and becoming an old woman before he's before he's born.
That's fascinating, because a friend that we mentioned earlier that was in that peacekeeping force, he was in the East German military and was there at the when the Berlin Wall came down and everything, and then immigrated to America, and he is I'm telling you, he's shared a lot with us about life in East Germany, and so to me that's a fascinating concept that you're gonna have that set in East Germany, because a lot of people haven't necessarily explored that and the life that people were living in the East. And it is something else. I mean, the stories that he's told me, I mean, wow. I mean, his for instance, he found out that his best friend was secretly
Since
spying on
childhood.
him.
His best friend since childhood.
Was secretly spying on him on behalf of the government, just to make sure that he was staying in line, and was like a minder. And that's just one of the
He
stories.
trusted him beyond belief, and then find out that he's actually a spy. So
and I can commiserate with that. When I was in Belgrade, I stayed with a guy. I got left at a bus stop with nowhere to go. It was getting cold, starting to rain, and this guy walks over and says, "Hey, I got a place you can stay. It'll cost you 10 marks a night," which was a great deal. And I didn't have any place better to go, so I went, "Oh, okay, we'll go." Turns out his name is Vladimir Zaremsky, and we're still friends, by the way. But he worked for Milosevic's secret police and was flying on. That was his job, was to pick up foreigners, have them stay in his house, get them to give out certain information, and then report back on it. I'm an open book.
Wow.
So, but that's I can commiserate.
Yeah, it sounds like some of the kind of style of stories that we heard from our friend, and so your setting of East Germany, that sounds fascinating for the book too. I mean, that's
because
going to be
people don't realize, people they don't look at that side so much because for a long time we didn't have a window into that world, right? Before internet, we didn't have a window, and so I mean, a lot now has come to light, but we always see the other side of Germany, but that's fascinating, give people a glimpse.
Well, so much
into
more
the other side.
about the Stasi files and what the Stasi would do, sneaking into people's apartments and just moving stuff around so that the people would think that they were going crazy, or stealing a little trinket. It's absolutely insane.
The mind, it's the mind warping, the mind control, and getting people to think, oh my gosh, maybe I'm schizophrenic, maybe I'm truly insane, or I got ghost, or you just don't know. I mean, it's insane what they used to do. It's just mind boggling to us, because I mean, we've never experienced stuff like that,
And the back and forth subterfuge of this person spying on this person who's spying on this person, who's keeping a secret about the tunnel that's being dug down the street. It's crazy. It was crazy. It was and so I thought that was an absolutely, and she's Greta's German, So I thought that was a and it set up some interesting um, character studies. There's
Yes.
there was um, the racial animus in East Germany where they were bringing
Yep.
in uh, uh, Africans from
Mhm.
to work, and
Right.
the amount of discrimination which the government refused to acknowledge was even took place. So there are some parallels to what's happening today, and so I just thought that was just you know I faced interrogation. I got arrested trying to get to the tunnel one night in Sarajevo, and uh, this guy literally browbeat me and I had come into the city through the tunnel, and this interrogator browbeat me about the tunnel doesn't exist, and
Right.
I said, yeah, it exists. He goes, well, no, it
Mhm.
doesn't. I said, yes, it does.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. And we went back and forth like that. He goes, well, if it did, how would you know that it existed? Because I was there. No, you weren't. Yes, I was. And it just went
It's
on
all
like this.
1984, right?
Yes,
1984. You
yes,
see number
yes.
5. That's number
Kafka.
5. Even though it's 3 fingers, that's number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Kafka-esque. It was so
Yeah.
absurd.
Yeah.
And then it just got to the point where I had been keeping detailed notes in a journal. I fished the journal out of my backpack and dropped it on the desk in front of him. I go, it's there. Everything you want is there.
Mhm.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But
Now
that's me. I'm an open book.
have you mapped? And I'm sure you've outlined the third book, but have you gotten into writing of the third book yet, or where you at with the third book?
I've outlined it. Um,
Mhm.
it has to do with the United Nations and a warning that time travel is the need has to have. So in the first book, um, Darby builds all of these conventions and rules and laws about time travel in his head that he knows must take place, about people just traveling willy-nilly, and uh the woman with the cell phone in the middle of a Chaplin film, or the suspiciously dressed guys chatting in front of in a Matthew Brady photograph at the Gettysburg Address. I think you guys have probably seen a lot of those online.
Yeah.
So he understands that there needs to be rules and laws, because otherwise this could be complete chaos. Time travel, unrestricted time travel, unregulated time travel could just be complete chaos for humanity, upsetting not only the past but the present and the future, and would be literally the most destructive, far more destructive than nuclear weapons, uh,
Mhm.
more destructive than any other weapon mankind has ever conceived. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm at with the third book. Um, I don't want to give away too much,
Right.
because
Yeah.
we don't know if Greta's going to make it to to find Darby in the modern day. Even though I kind of give that away at the
Well, I do have the question.
yeah.
Is Do you believe that in our time that we will see the ability to time travel, or in a future generation soon that we will be able to actually time travel?
I hope not, but they're talking
Really?
about, yeah, they're talking about things like warp drives, because I don't
Right.
think, first of all, we can't really handle the internet
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's
No
with
true.
kidding.
with
Amen.
with
Yeah.
It's
yeah
out of the
with
bag, right?
AI and all the disinformation,
Yeah, it's
and
done.
all the
Right.
things coming flying at you. we're having a hell of a time just dealing with the cell phones in our pockets.
Right.
Yeah. So, but they're they're talking about they're working, or they're trying to work out the math to build a warp drive for spacecraft that would presumably get us to distant or the nearest stars.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're and we spoke earlier, they're on the verge of discovering wormholes, black
Mm-hmm.
Right.
holes. And I make this point in the book. Art Darby makes this point in the book. Um, Black holes only a few years ago were considered theoretical. Now they're
Mm-hmm.
observing them all over the universe. Now they're
Yeah.
even creating them in labs. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, do I think that's those are steps towards time travel? Absolutely. Do I think we're ready for it? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's going to change the present time. That's the thing with going in the past. You're going to
Yeah.
change the present, and it's in the wrong hands, which it will end up. It's not going to be good. But for the average citizen like myself, I would definitely go back pre 1900 London. That's where I'd be. But yeah,
And every
I mean, I think it's
technology at
great.
some point ends up in the wrong hands.
Yes, everything
Somewhere,
does.
Sure.
somehow.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. It's in it, you can't stop it. Just like the internet, you can't stop it. You know,
That's true. That's very true.
you put a fork in the road, you block it at one end, it's going to come out at another. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, like everybody's working with small drones as great little camera devices and fun things,
Yeah.
and then you look at how they're used
Uh-huh.
over in the war in Ukraine, and they're, I mean,
Uh-huh.
vicious and
Yeah.
ubiquitous and being used,
Yep.
every day
Yeah.
to, weapons.
And
So
it's
yeah, you're
Mhm.
right.
boy,
Technology.
and it's
Yeah.
just happened so fast, this
Hmm.
technology.
Hmm.
30 years ago, there were satellite phones, but they were
Hmm.
really expensive, and
Yep.
very few people had them. Um, you know, there were no cell phones out of Sarajevo. There were no phones out of Sarajevo
Hmm.
during the siege. So,
Right. Right.
and then within a couple of years, we had flip phones, and then they put a camera in them, and you could send texts, and then the Blackberries, and boy, and then we were just off to the races.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
that was a transition time. That was when I remember the internet had not come of age at the beginning of that conflict, but by the
yeah,
end, when like the NATO was dealing with Serbia, I mean
yeah,
the internet had emerged, and
yes,
you were seeing stories and things online. So
yeah.
that was that short few years is definitely a period of transition. Yeah, you definitely saw.
Remember those cell phones about that time, the early and mid '90s. Cell
Mhm.
phones were these. They were brick size with a giant antenna.
Yes, I remember those. And then the famous car phones right before that, where you had like a little, almost like a little briefcase with like a bricky
Yeah,
like phone that you had to plug into the lighter and be lucky if you even got a connection. And you had like maybe 50 minutes on your account you could use, and it was
yep.
expensive. I remember those too. Yeah, those are
Uh-huh.
crazy. Yeah, yeah, things move fast, and here we are today with all kinds of AI stuff, and
And
our phones now do more than the desktop computers that we dealt with, a
yeah,
couple decades ago.
video
Yeah.
conferencing.
Hmm.
My wife talks to her family in Europe, um, with video conferencing, and they'll talk for hours,
Hmm.
and it doesn't. I remember. So when I got out, and uh, the downstairs neighbor, whose her three sons had been killed in the war, so she was allowed to have the one phone in the building.
Hmm.
And I would call that number again and again and again to try to get an open line.
Hmm.
And just talking for a few minutes, uh, one month I had a phone bill of $2,700,
Hmm.
just trying to stay connected to I have a picture of it, but it was incredibly expensive and
Oh yeah.
incredibly tenuous, and we could be interrupted at any time. You
Hmm.
know, if a shell went off, it would break the line, and it was. But
Hmm.
now, you know, you can talk to anybody on the planet, anywhere on the planet with a cell phone.
Hmm. Yeah, and now that obviously
Darby
with
Darby has
satellite
to
networks,
try to
yeah.
explain to Greta when he's trying to convince her of the coming Holocaust.
Hmm.
Um, Still many years in the future, but he has to explain to her um, what a cell phone is,
Hmm.
and it's beyond her. It's beyond her grasp. You
Hmm.
know, who do you call? Well, anyone. You call
Hmm.
anyone? Well, no, not anyone. They have to have a number. So everyone in the future has a number.
Hmm.
It's that sort of disconnect
Right.
of reality between their two realities.
And then also to articulate an event that's so horrific that is taking place in a society that's so well educated and known for
Yeah.
intellectuals, the arts. That's it just it's hard to even conceive that something
Yes.
that like that would happen. You think you're like a raving lunatic to say that that's going to happen, at that point, and
Yeah.
then it happened. But
Yeah. This is
yeah.
this is this is Germany of Kandinsky and
Mhm.
all this
Right. Yeah.
scientific thought and
Mhm.
art and theater and literature.
Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
And so this is all. World War One hasn't even happened.
Right.
The Zyklon B and mustard gas and the horrors of the trenches
Right.
and
Mhm.
all that is still,
Yeah.
11 million dead is still.
Mhm.
That's a a complete fantasy,
Mhm.
and then a global depression followed by the Second World War, and a madman who
Mhm.
takes over a democratic Germany is
Mhm.
is just beyond what they can comprehend.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
got
that,
it. 'Cause I can only imagine. That'd be so hard to articulate that that would take place and have somebody believe you. Yeah, it would be a
yeah,
hard
yeah,
thing to get across. And yeah, certainly in the context of World War One, which set the conditions that were chaotic enough to cause the rise, obviously of Hitler. And
indeed.
so yeah, I mean, it would be hard to get all that across to somebody that is before that. I mean, that's yeah, you had your work cut out for you as a
What are you
writer.
talking about?
Yeah, you did, you did. What a fascinating topic. I mean, yeah, this is going to be an amazing trilogy for sure.
Yeah,
And yeah, it seems like it has appeal to lots of different. I mean, like I said, it's a genre blender, and it's got
yeah,
yeah, science and science elements, and it's got with the time travel, and it's got in physics, and then you've got romance, and then I mean, obviously, it's got so much, and the settings are so major. So, yeah, this could be neat. Yeah, this is gonna be a
the
great.
uh,
Yeah, miss you
the
well on this one.
science is real. I had a lot of fun with the romance, um,
Hmm.
and writing some of those saucier scenes. Um, was just a blast. I had
Yeah,
so much fun
absolutely.
writing those. Um, yeah,
Absolutely. And yeah, so I wish you definitely well with the new trilogy. And of course, yeah, definitely encourage folks to check out this first book, The Assassination of Baby Hitler, a love story by WC Turck. Yeah, pick it up, folks. Yeah, this is going to be a definite must read, I think. And but I do want to also cover a little bit because you did mention to me, and if it's okay to talk about it, but you just finished a postmodern novella and play about your friendship with the photographer Vivian Meyer.
yeah, I did. So I knew I knew Vivian Meyer, the photographer, the street photographer.
Hmm.
I met her on a beach here in the neighborhood overlooking Lake Michigan, and we struck up a friendship. I never knew that she was a photographer. I knew that she took photographs because she she said so a couple times, but never anything to the extent that that was later revealed. There's a local photographer, Dave Cogan, who used to frequent that beach as well, and taking sunrise photography. But Vivian would just come out and sit on the bench and watch the sunrise. And so I struck up a friendship with her that last year of her life, that last summer of her life, and only found out about her when the revelations of her photography prowess and talent began to emerge the following summer. From Dave, by the way, who told
Yeah.
me I went out and hadn't seen Vivian. I had no idea that she had passed that spring, or earlier that spring, April, I think. And he walked up and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry about your friend." And I went, "What happened?" And he said, "Yeah, she died. She passed away."
Oh man.
And I was obviously I was shocked. And he said, "You don't know who she was, do you?" And I said, "She told me she introduced herself, but I'm terrible with names, so I just put the name aside and remembered the face, right?" And he said that was Vivian Meyer. She's a great photographer, and
Wow. Wow.
so uh, so this is a a verbatim. It's only about 70 minutes because I didn't want to embellish. There's a lot of pressure to embellish and expand, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it to that reconstructed conversation, those conversations that Vivian and I had that summer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So this will be sort of like a Waiting for Godot sort of play. It's just the two of us interacting about life and moments and love and everything. Everything and nothing, as I put it, because those were our conversations about everything and nothing. And yeah, it was just she was a special lady, and gruff and and a bit brash, but pretty amazing.
And so does the novella also kind of stay in that style? Just kind of really focus on just simply your interactions like the play does?
No, the novella is uh, is about intersecting paths and fate, but it's done um, in this stilted sort of language. Arbery Millhouse, my protagonist, talks about a pale language no longer suffices, and what's necessary is a new language. And so I follow that language through the book. Um,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So there's so much. There's a bit of fanciful folklore about a mysterious woman who lives out in the middle of Lake Michigan. We have uh, these water buildings that look at a distance look like these Gothic mansions. So I
Wow.
thought, wow, what a great place to set up the climax of the book is in one of
Nice.
those Gothic mansions with a mysterious blind woman who lives out there, and so everything comes together right at the end. And then I just pulled out. You'll love this because this is science fiction. It's called, and I need to go to it because it's called Angry Jasper and Skullboy Escape from Chicago. It's remember those old Western novels, um,
Mhm.
with the tough guy gunslinger.
Yes.
That's Angry Jasper, but instead of being this suave character,
Hmm.
he never gets the words right, and everything always goes the opposite of how he wants it to go. And but he's in love with this space hooker who's working for the Rebel Alliance. They have the best sex of their lives with one another, but if they're together for any time beyond that, they're they're liable to kill one another.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm just finishing up that one. That's very very fun. And then I was just asked to work on a project about Ernest Hemingway for
Nice.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
have I must say, listening to you, you have a keen sense of setting. I can tell just in talking about all your books that we've mentioned tonight, you have a really good sense for setting, and I can tell already. I know once I get to read a couple of these, yeah, I'm going to see that. But yeah, you do. I can see that coming through in our talk tonight. But yeah,
Setting is everything. Yeah,
when is this
setting is
coming
everything.
through? Yeah.
You guys did a great interview with Sharon LaCour.
Ah, loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
Mm,
so I had her on. She's going to be on the March episode of Chicago Rights.
mhm,
That was one of the observations that I made about her book is that each chapter she set a stage and she put the characters within that setting,
mhm,
and then they worked within that set, but that setting built the mood. It helped
mhm.
drive the narrative and the action and fed the dialogue. It's just astounding. So
It
so
is.
I'm always I'm always trying to do that with my writing. Sharon does it brilliantly.
That's what I love how it all this ties together. Yeah, because we loved having Sharon on and love her work and
Yeah,
yeah, then talking to you about your work and setting and I love setting because I think that even in some books it can become almost like another great character in itself. Setting becomes almost like a character, and so it's
indeed,
a yeah, I love it. I love it.
indeed.
But when is this one? When can we look forward to being able to get our hands on this novella? When is this one maybe going to come out?
I'm looking for agents right now, so
Hmm.
it's probably a little bit
Oh
down the
wow.
line. Yeah,
Yep.
but if I don't have an agent within, I don't know, 4 or 5 months,
Mhm.
then I'm gonna I'm probably gonna self-publish this one.
Yeah.
But Angry Jasper looks like I've got a good strong lead on an agent who likes these quirky off center um,
Yeah.
science fiction books.
Nice. And I wish you the best with that because I do want to get my hands on this one for sure. But now I do. Now you did give me a good segue for this because before we conclude tonight, I do want to cover Chicago Rights and the
Yeah,
Chicago Writers Association because, of course, we're big on writers associations and anything that promotes and supports
yeah.
writers. And so I would love you for have you talk and give our audience a picture of that the podcast and the Writers Association and what you do there.
I talk once a month about the business art and craft of writing, how to write, how to market your book, marketing strategies, which is foremost in every writer's mind, and through my playtime playcast talking with musicians, that's one of the other things that I've talked about is marketing, how to
Mhm.
market in the age of streaming, when it's
Mhm.
so hard to cut through the
Oh,
noise,
yeah.
get your
Mhm.
product into the hand of a listener or a reader. And I've found that there's a crossover between those two.
Mhm.
But number one is, um, just being out there and getting the book in the hands of the reader. If you're hoping that they'll go online and talk with and find your book, they're liable to get sidetracked in a million different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Very true.
I sold. I was at a book fair this summer with 50 books. I sold out of all 50 just by getting out in front of that table and holding up the book and saying,
Yes.
"At no time in the writing of this book was any were any babies, Nazi or otherwise harmed,"
Mhm.
and that caused them to pause, and then it's all you selling the book, right?
Right.
And
Mhm.
and getting it in their hand, maybe having them read a first page or two. But that
Yeah.
so that's one aspect of it, and then sort of drilling down. I like to cover. Um, we're talking aside from Sharon this month. I'm talking with Lindsay Schultz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Um,
just had her on too a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she's just wonderful. We're actually going to be working on a play together about um, book banning
Mm-hmm.
and
Nice.
the sort of vagina monologues esque play with a story arc.
That's
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. She just came to me today and approached me on that, and I thought it was just a brilliant idea.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
thrilled to help her. Honored to help her with something so important.
Well, it sounds like we have a lot of people in common. Yeah, Lindsay and Sharon, of course, the mighty Dane Klefstad,
The
who's who's
mighty, the
who's
mighty
being
band, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But so we've talked. So we talk with authors who are just getting started, who
Mhm.
have just published a book, and then I've had conversations with Jonathan Eig,
Mhm.
the Pulitzer Prize winner for King, the biography. Anna Castillo was
Mhm.
on the show, so um, and I'm gathering bits of wisdom for all of those people that I hope will will imbue the listener to the program with some kernel of wisdom that I can that I can
Yeah,
offer for their writing success, which is really what
absolutely.
the Chicago Writers Association is all about.
And where can folks get to tune into this platform wise? This
They can
also
go
Podbean.
to yeah, they can go to chicagorights.org/resources, and it'll be right there.
Great.
But and we're also we also encourage anyone from any part of the country to join the Chicago Writers Association. It's $25 a year. When I joined almost 10 years ago, it's still $25. Um, so they're not looking, and the resources are just spectacular.
Mhm.
Coming up here in March on the 21st to the 23rd, I think, is the let's just write, the Chicago Writers Association Writers Conference, where they have workshops and guest speakers and agent pitches and
Yeah.
publisher pitches. It's an exciting 3 day event. You get to network with other writers and publishers and what have you,
Yeah.
editors and book doctors, and so
So we, those of us that are bourbon swelling writers from Kentucky, we can join. Is what you're saying?
yes,
You accept members from outside of Chicago? Then
anywhere in the
yeah,
world. It's just
nice.
meant to be, and we our success depends upon that great funnel of creative energy and vision and voice,
Hmm.
and that if we're just remaining here at home in Chicago, at some point that becomes a little bit of a stagnant pool, and so we encourage those fresh perspectives and those fresh vistas and those fresh eyes and minds to kind of keep us alive.
Fantastic.
Keep us
Well,
alive.
don't be surprised if you get a new Kentucky member or two in the near future. So,
Oh, God love you. God love you. Yep. And we'd love to see you up here at the writers conference. We're just we have events
Oh,
every
yeah.
now and then, and it's open to everybody. So
Well, we love that, and we both Holly and I definitely have a healthy respect for what it takes to put on a 3-day event. Believe
straight
me,
up here, just come
we
straight up
do.
here on I-55, man.
Yep. Yeah,
Nice.
I've been to Chicago several times, and I love it, and I've always had a good experience. So, absolutely. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. And but yes, I'm gonna. Well, Holly, I've been asking some questions. Is there anything you'd like to cover
I am
before
back.
we
I'm
finish?
sorry. I had to
We have
step out
I
for
thought
a
I
little
thought you went
emergency.
away.
Yeah,
yeah,
I had a little emergency. I was called out, but yeah, I'm
we,
back. We have 3 grandkids that live with us, so yeah.
I have not done that badly though. Don't worry, Holly. But we have
Oh,
about
well, I'm
we have
sorry. I apologize. But
we have
yes, I
4 minutes. We
definitely
have
want to
4
check
minutes
out.
left. We have 4
Well,
minutes
I
before they
definitely
cut us
want to
off.
check out
Yeah.
the conference, and have you told everybody where they can reach you?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
ChicagoWrites.org/resources.
Yes, and now
Okay.
you though, for following you as a writer and a creative, where would you like to direct our listeners to connect with you?
I just started a Substack, WC Turck, all one word, lowercase,
Mhm.
.substack.com.
I need to do a Substack. I keep hearing great things about it
They're fun.
all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm
yeah.
Well,
I'm
thank
sort of
you.
I'm sort of doing a little bit of a sarcastic run on there, but I've been employing poetry and a little bit of script writing and joke telling
Nice.
and having fun, and I find that it really allows me to sort of get those cobwebs out, those things that are sort of lingering and blocking me
Blocking.
creatively, and just sort
Yep.
of get them out, and then I can focus more deeply on those important projects.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Very much encouraged.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been a great conversation and the first of what I hope are many to come, and
Yes.
first of many visits here, because I definitely want to have you back, and I know Holly does. So
Yes.
I'm going to be delving into your memoir, into your fiction. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, is there anything just to briefly that we can that you'd like to mention before we conclude tonight?
I can be here every day. I'm kidding. No, you
Well,
guys,
we're
you guys
working the
are
book board
great.
every day. We'll do that.
You guys are great.
We'll
I've
broadcast
fallen in
daily.
love with the podcast. You guys are doing an exceptional job,
Well,
and
thank you.
especially for
Thank you.
writers. It's just an invaluable resource. I can't speak highly enough about you guys.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
thank you.
you. Appreciate that. And so yes, we'll be seeing you soon. And yeah, you'll definitely be hearing from me and get some Kentucky members aboard on the Chicago
Yes.
Writers Association. And
100%.
but I will sign off for myself. But I'll turn it over to Holly to wrap things up with you here.
All right.
Yep. But before Podbean cuts us off,
Yes, yes.
But thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight, being such a great guest. And yeah, definitely we're going to be back. Yeah. And do another little chat. Very, very interesting and just been a ball of fun. And
Mhm.
thank you. Thank you so much for being a great guest.
No, thank you
And
guys for making the time. So this was wonderful.
thank you. Awesome. Awesome. And yeah, everybody check out Mr. Turk's podcast. And what is your podcast name? What's the tag?
WCTurck.substack.com.
All right, there you go, people. Join us next Wednesday, same place, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch you then. Another great guest, another great chat. Be creative for the rest of the week. Good night.